All right, so now as we get ready to start putting the protocol together on the microcontroller side, getting it ready to listen for the commands, and I went ahead and set up for an issue I've encountered before with the instructions and the documentation. Don't actually plan on writing these until we're putting the scripts together on the computer side, but I have encountered issues before where working with the microcontroller, I've suddenly come across things that needed to be in the instructions. So I went ahead and set that up. Just a couple sections uh, for the instructions to go into. They're not there yet, but just have them ready in case something shows up when writing the protocol on the microcontroller side. Just because I've seen that before, so nothing too fancy. Just a couple section tags, and then I've floated them left and right. Uh, well, I haven't previewed it yet. I can open this up and double check that. But that's just something that I've seen happen before when putting the microcontroller side of the protocol together. Realize something that needs to go in the instructions and go ahead and put that in immediately so that when it's freshest on my mind, so I don't have to worry about remembering it and doing it later. But we probably won't need that part. So yeah, so instructions for using it as a mouse over here and a controller over here. Then that'll work, but we probably won't be writing those until we get to the scripts on the PC itself. So now we should be ready to go ahead and set up the protocol on the microcontroller side. Set up all the keywords that it's going to be listening for. And I'll pause this while it opens up. Okay, so back to where we finished the other day and ready to put this together. And this is pretty much the only thing the microcontroller is going to do. It's going to listen for instructions coming down the serial comm line and send instructions back down the serial comm line. So instead of writing a separate method, I'm just going to put it all in the loop because that's pretty much all we're doing here. And set up that list earlier, selected some words and thought about what they need to do. So now we just need to set up the instructions to listen for it. So we'll do that in a if statement or an if block. And the thing we want to check is basically every pass through the loop, we're going to check if there is something coming down the serial line. So we do serial dot available. Whoops. Available. So if serial dot available is greater than 0, that means there's something coming down the comm line. And there's going to be a bunch of curly braces here, so I'm going to label this closing one so we don't lose track of it. In serial available. At least I like to at least label the major closing curly braces. So I want to make sure everything happens before that one. Don't want to lose track of that. So now we can listen for strings. And what I'm going to do is put them into a string. PC command, that sounds like a good name. The thing coming from the PC equals something. There's a couple different things we can listen for since we have plenty of bits to work with. As we saw in that last video, I'm just going to go with strings. That makes it a little easier to type up. So serial, we're going to look at that serial port and do serial.read string until. And then what character do we want to stop reading on? So we'll read up until we hit a line break. That's a nice easy one to work with. Uh-oh. Well, I just realized I didn't include the line break character when I did that math earlier. So all of those, that segment where I was punching in the Unicode number of Unicode characters, I guess it should have been 9 characters instead of 8 because I forgot about the line break, which still wouldn't be very many. So I think we're still well inside of our limit, but yeah, when working on your projects, I guess don't do what I just did here and forget about the line break character. Especially if you've got something really impressive going on and might be pushing the limits of your device. Make sure you get all those right. But I apparently forgot that, but it's not going to make much of a big deal in this case. But so our instructions is we're going to check if there's something coming down the serial communication line. So if what's coming is bigger than 0, then just read that until we hit a new line character. So when we get over and start writing our scripts on the PC, we're going to want to make sure every instruction ends with the line break. And then put that into this string, which we should probably declare up here. I guess we could do it locally. I'm going to go ahead and give it global scope just in case I need it somewhere else. So a string, PC command, and just initialize it to an empty string. And that's something I believe I've mentioned it a couple times. I don't type left to right, top to bottom when I put code together. I'm jumping back and forth as my mind thinks about things. A point that's often missing if all you're looking at is finished examples. So there's a lot of back and forth along the way. So now that we have the instruction coming from the PC, we can just check and see if it matches anything on that list prepared earlier this morning. So if PC command is equal to x_axis, well, then we want to do something. So if it's the x-axis, then that is going to be the horizontal control of our basic control unit. So if that's what it is, then we can do serial.print. We'll send something back down the serial communication port, and we will send back controller.getX. So if that's what comes, if we get the right instruction coming down the line, we'll send back this result. And when writing code, a good rule of thumb is we always want to run a test every chance we get. And also, I don't like working at the bottom of a screen like that, so I'm going to put some empty space in there. But we're going to run a test every chance we get. So let's give this a test and make sure this line works before we go much further. So go ahead and upload that to the microcontroller, and I will pause the video while that compiles and uploads. And I just redid that error that we saw and fixed the other day. There's no memory management. I was using pointers in the C++ code without any memory management involved, without cleaning up the RAM we used afterwards. So I have to use pointers here. Completely forgot about that. So let me try and upload that again. All right, so it worked with that thing that I'd forgot in the 2 or 3 days since that video was filmed. I suppose watching the videos, that could have just been a couple minutes ago for you, but it was 3 days ago for me, I think, 2 or 3 days ago, and I'd completely forgot about it, but got that fixed, and now it's fresh on my mind for the rest of the code. But it uploaded, so if we open the serial monitor, nothing's coming back, so we need to pass in a command. Before we do that, we need to come down here and check how we end the stuff we send. Well, we want to end with a new line, because we're going to read until the new line character. So now we should be able to send the command x-axis down that serial line and get back the value of the x-axis on the joystick. Oh, something didn't come back. Let me pause and see if I can figure out why that didn't come back like it should have. Well, as so often happens, it turns out the mistake was what falls in the category of a silly mistake when programming. Read serial.readString until new line character, which in some of our languages, our quote marks are interchangeable, right? I hope most people watching this video are familiar with that. Sometimes our quote marks are interchangeable. C or C++ is not one of those languages, and double quote marks means a string, and single quote marks means a character. And new line is a character, not an entire string. So now that should work. And that's how it often happens. The mistakes in programming tend to be mostly silly little mistakes we make along the way. So I'll pause the video while that uploads. All right, it's finished uploading, so let's give this a test over here in the serial monitor. Just the generic serial monitor, some basic controls of the serial COM line. Have the right baud rate. We're set to a new line character. So we should be able to come up here and pass x underscore axis down the line. And when we do this, we'll get back a result from the microcontroller, which we saw the other day. -4 was the rest position, and I will fix that later. I think some of that could be the result of it not sitting level on the board. But if we try a couple things, pass down x-axis, and I'll move a little bit to the left. Yep, not all the way to the left, and gave a -73. X-axis. This time I'll move all the way to the right to get a +100. So it looks like that's working. So now we should be able to just finish out this if-else structure and get all of the commands worked in here, which will be exactly like this. We'll listen for the command, and if we hear that command come back down the line, we will print the corresponding get result of the getter method in the controller. And there's no need to watch that in the video, so I will pause this, type this, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.